Hey everyone, my name's Tex, and welcome to the Weekend Wake Up. Now, before we get started, I should probably explain what I'm doing. For those of you who aren't aware, this year I'm challenging myself to wake up before dawn every single day. And this video is somewhat of an update to that. It's going to talk about how things have been going and also give some tips and tricks about stuff that I've learned along the way, whether that just be general life stuff or more specific to waking up early. If you're interested in learning more about the challenge itself, I will post a link down in the description and I will put these two videos together in a playlist. Without further ado, let's get into it. First, I should mention how far I actually am in this challenge. As of recording, I have woken up before dawn 29 days in a row, and barring any unforeseen circumstances, when this video goes live, I will be on day 30. As you'll see, there are some days that are quite a bit better than others, but during this first month or so, I've really figured out some tips and tricks that help me get out of bed and get my day started on the right foot, so that way I can keep the challenge going. And some days that doesn't really come into effect, but some days when I'm only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep after working until 2 a.m., I really need to make sure that my day starts right. So let's talk about what my morning routine looks like. Every morning I start the day with some form of physical activity. Normally it's just some push-ups and sit-ups to get the blood flowing. Other days I do yoga and work on my flexibility. Immediately after that, I go and I take an ice-cold shower to finish waking myself up. Now, as I mentioned, I start most days with some form of physical activity. And I think that that's really important because when you're not getting as much sleep, you need something kind of jarring first thing in the morning to get you going. And I know it's not an appetizing proposition to get out of bed and immediately start working out heavily, and that's honestly not what I've been doing. I've been doing very light workouts first thing in the morning, just something to get the blood flowing, and I think that that's really helpful. I get up, have a glass of water, and then I do some push-ups, some sit-ups, a couple pull-ups, and then a lot of days I just do some yoga or something. It's all to make sure that I just get my body moving. Most days I don't feel like I can even do 10 push-ups when I get started, but halfway through my first set of push-ups I start to fully wake up and adapt more. So that's one of my biggest tips for actually being productive once I've gotten up early, is doing something to get the blood flowing, or doing something to shock the system. I mentioned immediately after I work out, I take an ice cold shower. That, if I'm not fully awake after working out, that definitely wakes me up and has me ready to get my day started. I'm guessing that you're wondering how I actually get up in the morning. I've mentioned what I do once I'm up, and honestly, it's not enjoyable, and it probably doesn't sound enjoyable to any of you. So you may be asking yourself why I get up when I know full well that the first thing I'm going to do is work out and take an ice cold shower. And the answer is you. It's as simple for me as having to answer to someone. Partly I'm answering to myself because I set myself this challenge, but partly I'm answering to you guys, the audience. I know that there aren't that many of you watching, but I told myself that I'd get up and record myself before dawn every single day this year. And I feel like if I'm not awake and actively doing that, then I'm cheating myself and I'm lying to you guys. It would be an easy thing for me to just go back to sleep on days when I am exhausted and don't have much energy. But when I wake up and feel like doing that, I think about what I would say to you. if I ended up doing that. I think about how I'd have to look at myself in the mirror that day when I finally got up. It's not a miracle cure. Like, it doesn't always get me right out of bed when I think of that. There have been days where I've sat on the edge of my bed for 10 minutes before I got up and barely made it to record before dawn. But the thing is, I still got up. It doesn't matter how long I sat there thinking about it. I knew that I ultimately had to, because there was something that I had to answer for. So yeah, that's my answer for how I actually get myself up in the morning. It's you. Now that I've covered how I actually get myself up in the morning and what I do once I'm up to make sure that I get started on the right foot, let's talk about some of the other stuff that I do throughout the day to keep myself on track, and some of the stuff that I've accomplished in this first month being awake before dawn. One of the things that I've been doing is making sure that I make time to read. It could be just a few pages, or some days I read a couple of chapters, but I make sure that I get at least some form of reading in. One of the things that I do to stay focused throughout the day is taking the time to sit down and meditate. It doesn't have to be for very long, but even just a couple of minutes relaxing and letting everything slip away helps me refocus and prepare to finish the day strong. Now, on top of that, I've been writing way more than I've ever written in my entire life. Over the past month, I've written pages upon pages of song lyrics, some poetry, some philosophy ideas that I wanted to write down but never took the time to. I even started a short story, and I'm journaling more than I ever have in my entire life. In the past, writing was always kind of a secondary thing. I would do it when I felt like it, but now that I'm actively taking the time to do it, I'm seeing some actual progress, and I'm really happy that I'm getting so far with it. The other thing that I've been spending my time on is this channel. This is by far the most focused I've ever been on content creation in my life. In the past, I've made some videos on YouTube and Twitter about magic, but I never made more than 1 or 2 in a month. And I always took these absurdly long breaks just because I wasn't really enjoying it, and there was other stuff I was focused on. But now, I'm a month in, and this is going to be video number 8, 9 on the channel. I really did not expect it to be going this well and for me to be loving it this much, but I am, and I hope that I get to continue doing this for a while. Even though I've been really productive with the time that I've been awake and I've been enjoying a lot of what I've been doing, there are still some parts of this challenge that are less than enjoyable.
Day 23, 7:02, and it's dark outside. My alarm was set for like 6:55. I ended up hitting snooze without realizing it. Getting up at 7, working until like 2:15, 2:20 in the morning, and then having to get up early is not fun, and I think that this is going to be the death of me. But oh well, I'm up now. Let's get to it.
Now, part of my issue with mornings like the one you just saw is that I didn't budget my time properly the day beforehand. I woke up early, like I have to for the challenge, but then I stayed up, and I stayed up, and I stayed up, until before I knew it, it was 2:30 in the morning, and I had worked the entire day without very much rest, and then I had to get up after 4 hours of sleep. And this brings me to my next tip. If you're going to be getting up early in the mornings and you have stuff to do late at night, make sure that you handle your time properly. And the one day I actually took the time to lay down before work and take a nap. And even though the next morning was still rough, it wasn't as bad because I took the time to make sure that my body would have the energy to work and then get up early the next morning. The issue with the other days is that I didn't do that. I would just work and work and work. And the one day that I tried to lay down and take a nap, I couldn't because I had coffee at 2 p.m. and trying to nap from 5 to 7 just doesn't work when you still have that much caffeine in your system. I know that there are some people that can do that, but my tip for this is if you are going to be up late and then want to get up early, make sure that you take the time to rest during the day, and if you need to take a nap, make sure that you actually can take that nap. Now, as you've seen, there are some mornings that have been good and some that have been not so good. But by and large, once I'm actually up, all of the days have been great. As I've talked about, I've been super productive with all this extra time, and I've been really happy with the progress that I've been making. It sucks that some mornings feel like I'm dying, but with how great I feel throughout the days, I'm kind of okay with it. A lot of it is in part due to my morning routine and how I force myself to get up and actually be active. I know that I wouldn't feel this great throughout the days if I spent the first 2 hours of my day sitting around doing nothing and wishing I were back in bed. Overall, I've actually enjoyed this experience. There are some good aspects and some bad aspects, but the good ones tend to outweigh the bad ones, at least for me. I've found that this has been really helpful to my productivity and my outlook on life in general. Now, if you liked the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out a ton, and it means a lot to me personally. I honestly don't know if I would be doing this challenge and sticking to it if I didn't have you guys. So anything that you can do to help out really does mean a lot. Also, let me know down in the comments what you thought of the video and the challenge in general. Feel free to suggest ideas for future challenges and videos, and I would love your input on how often you want to see updates on this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it weekly or bi-weekly, but you guys can give your input and I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.